Our ongoing rivalry with Charles, the humble mechanic, has led us here, American Muscle. We've purchased a Z28 Camaro with the goal of building the fastest muscle car for $7,500. And when you want to go fast, it's hard to beat a turbo. That's right, we got a turbo for this Camaro. This thing is huge. It's bigger than any turbo I've had on any of my cars before, but it was only $370. Now, obviously there's a bunch of other stuff that we bought to make it work on this car. So exhaust piping, intercooler, fuel injectors, fuel pump, all of this stuff, which is gonna go into the car in this episode. So let's get started. And I've also brought help because it's quite daunting for me to try to figure this all out myself in this 1 week that Ben is gone. So I've brought my friend Chris. He's kind of the LS expert who's gonna help us get this puppy on there and get us choo-chooing down the road.
My name is Chris Yeager, and I've been into domestic cars, I would say, about 16, 17 years. So I like GM because that's where I started, and kind of just what I stuck with. Just the LS is so compact, so easy, it's just so simple. For this setup, we're doing the 78, 75 turbo, of course, the cheap one, and then just your basic 3-inch intercooler piping. We have 80-pound injectors, the wall-bore 535 pump. I think it's at the Hellcat. We're gonna do valve springs because the valves like to float with that much boost. So I've turboed a bunch of them, never blown one up, so we'll see.
We're gonna start by pulling all of the stuff that we don't need out of the engine bay so we can make room for the turbo and intercooler piping. This includes the AC compressor, AC bracket, AC lines, and a bunch of plastic clips and retainers underneath, as well as the condenser and radiator bracket mounts on top so we can slide the radiator forward to give us more room.
So we'll take a pipe from over here, and we'll route it under the car and over onto this passenger side. You kind of U-bend to U-bend it all the way back to the front, and we'll connect coming in kind of like that. So we pulled the fuel rail, we're replacing the ejectors. The stock ones are like 26 pounds. That's not enough fuel for this turbo, so we're putting some 80-pounders on there.
Okay, so we took off one of the sides of the manifolds and I need to plug up some of these spots here from some stuff that we've deleted. We're starting small with this side here, kind of ease into it. I have a new welder, so I'm not super familiar with how it works yet, so we're gonna kind of mess around with it and get this thing all sealed up. Okay, I got this manifold all welded up and move on to, this is a Hellcat fuel pump.
Yeah, it's 535 liters per hour.
Good grief, in one pump.
Yep, it's insane.
Yeah, you usually have to go to 2 pumps for that.
Easily support our power goals.
All right, well, it should be a drop-in and it should be easier because that duct tape that we saw in the rear, I think is a cutaway to get to the fuel pump. So we've already got our work cut out for us.
All right, so we got the Hellcat fuel pump in. It looks good. We don't see any leaks.
Just gonna fold that down, get some duct tape on that.
There we go. So now we're on to putting that turbo in.
So I'm gonna pull this radiator back. It used to have the condenser in front of it. Now obviously we've removed that, so I'm gonna pull the radiator back as much as we can so that we can have room for the turbo. I'm just gonna make a bracket out of some metal here to just kind of tie down this top to where I guess the shroud mounted before to hopefully hold this radiator back, and that should give us a little bit more room. Okay, so we have a couple different options for where we can put the turbo. Option number one, we've kind of jokingly just thrown on top of the engine. And we might have to cut a hole through here. Option number two would be to move the battery in the back, which we've already got it out, and stick it in this little spot right here. But because we have a cowl hood, we might actually be able to clear this. Just barely, actually. It's really close to the edge here, but we've got even more room to go up. So we could stick that turbo even higher, and it could be taking some, induction through this snout, if you will. And yeah, all right, well, I think we found the location for our turbo. look at this bolt. This came off the exhaust. It broke off. That thing is welded to the stud.
So we got all the pipe for the up pipe from this side of the header to the turbo. We're gonna go ahead and test fit it now and see if it's in the right location. I kind of guessed, so we'll see. Yeah, I think that's about where we wanted it. So we got all the exhaust piping for the hot side tacked up. I'm giving it over to Ben to weld it up. So now I'm gonna take this bumper apart and try to fit that big old intercooler.
Okay, so I have two pipes here to weld together. He just got this tacked up kind of on the car, but this is like 60 bucks worth of mild steel piping. So it is the most budget possible, very thin metal, and we have some massive gaps to fill, which is not really TIG welding's strong suit, but I'm gonna give it my best shot.
We gotta do the oil lines. We're gonna use 4AN oil feed and then 10AN oil drain. We're gonna figure out which one will fit.
Hey everybody, I'm David. You'll recognize me from other Ben's Evo. Ben called me because he broke a bunch of studs. I guess I have to fix it.
The header was so rusted, in fact, that I had to go to Advance just to buy more drill bits for David, because his kept breaking. While I was there, I picked up some parts in Advance that we'd need for the Camaro later on. After a lot of drilling, hammering, and many broken drill bits, David finally got the broken studs out and is ready to put the header back on the car. I was telling Chris when we were welding up this header, I don't even know what to call this mid pipe, that it's probably gonna warp and the flanges aren't gonna line up, and it's warped and the flanges don't line up. So we're just gonna like torch the bottom of this to heat it up so that we can kind of spread the end. I'm pretty confident in my welds that they'll hold up, so I'm not like too worried about anything happening with that. I love that it sticks up so high. And it clears the hood, which is unbelievable. Okay, so this is the up pipe. David, if you can hammer this in, I weld back here to try to straighten this pipe. tons of clearance now. That is beautiful. I've hammered this U pipe down to kind of oval out this center section. Needed to hammer the top part so it cleared the transmission, but I also wanted to hammer the bottom part so it clears the road. It is the lowest hanging part on the car, so I'm worried about this kind of bottoming out and catching. So I've hammered out the bottom a little bit to hopefully give myself a little bit more clearance. Flow should still be good. I've seen tests done on this and it made no difference, so I'm not worried about flow or anything like that. Yes! Dude, look at that. It's moving and not hitting. If it was touching on something, it's gonna be really prone to cracking. So I think we're good, man. We're cleared everywhere. I just need a support bracket on the top because obviously there's a lot of fulcrum leverage here and the weight of the turbo is gonna be sitting on that. So now I'm gonna make a bracket for up top to hold the turbo. I have an incredible sense of satisfaction holding this pipe. Even though this pipe looks terrible, like we've been hammering it and I overheated the flange and, but you know what? This came out of like $30 worth of the cheapest mild steel piping and now it's part of a turbo system and that's pretty cool.
Honey, I'm home. Is that a turbo?
Yep. I thought you weren't supposed to be here until Friday.
Yeah, it's Friday. Then did you turbo our Camaro?
Yeah, I didn't go over budget. It's $370 for that.
$370?
Mm-hmm. And the intercooler was $150.
So we're not over budget.
Not over budget, and it makes $600, or it's gonna make $600.
$600. Okay. Wow, look at that. How big is it?
78 mil?
Man, that's the biggest turbo that's ever been in this shop.
Yeah.
And it still clears, dude.
That's clear. The cowl hood came in clutch, honestly.
Yeah, man, it used to do nothing, and now it really does something.
Yeah,
that's perfect.
Just clearance, yeah.
Oh, sweet, bro. Charles is not gonna see this coming. That is perfect. So, how close are we to done?
Well, it was supposed to be done before you got back, but there's still a lot of work.
Okay, all right. Well, we still got time before the race. Dude, this is great. We can make this work. You did this all yourself, huh?
Well, I had some help with Chris, but I'm pretty wiped out. I'm gonna run to Advance, get some parts. You can take it over from here. Just needs the piping to be connected up there, intercooler piping to be all routed, O2 sensor, obviously the tune, a couple other things. You'll be fine.
Yeah, I should have this all done before you get back.